Hi. It's still been like super fucking hot. Ridiculously so. It is like plus 30 right now, I think. But I rearranged my room a bit. And now I think the air blower that I have is working a bit more efficiently. It like now moves out all the bad air from my room to somewhere else, to like the corridor. I think way better than it did in the previous position. So I feel a bit better than I usually would. Also, I stopped doing the mistake of like spraying my curtains with water, which yeah, it does sound like an insane idea, but I am autistic at the end of the day, so I'm gonna like do weird shit that makes sense, but you generally wouldn't think about doing, you know? So the idea behind that is that you spray really cold water on your curtains, and since I have them closed, I don't want any sun to come in. The sun would still heat up that water and it would evaporate. And when cold water, first of all, gets hot enough to evaporate and then also evaporates, that takes a lot of energy, and so basically it makes your room colder. That's a cool idea. However, what ended up happening is that my room was just like really wet. Well, not wet, but like the air was wet. I forget how you actually say that. So yeah, I think because I stopped doing that, it's been a bit better. So, as usual, you have like a strangely open thing about things that I plan to talk about. So let's go and talk about them. Usually, when you save, the most like known way to save is you go to command mode and do W, and here you go. You just saved the current buffer. However, the W, which is actually the write command, can take a range. If you don't specify a range, it automatically creates a range for the entire file. But you can actually give it a range. You can even select some lines and then open them in command mode, and now the range that you have passed is these lines that you have selected. So now you can do W, and you will save specifically these lines. You might be thinking, oh cool, so this way I don't have to like waste processing power saving the entire file when I only changed a few lines, so I can just save those lines. Good thought, but that's not how it works actually. You're only saving these lines. Every other line you do not save. And, well, I'm using the word save here, but I'm actually super incorrect, because the command is called write. And it's called write for a reason, because basically means write these lines into this file. So when you write only some range of lines, it asks you write partial file. It even has no as the default. But if you do yes, if you press Y, it's like, alright then, I believe you. And now nothing changed. Why? Because it didn't yet realize the change that you created. So let's re-edit the file, which you can do by just passing E with nothing and executing it. And now we have these lines. It's pretty cool, isn't it? So what we did here is that we said only write these lines to this file. So you can still undo, by the way, if you have that setting that makes it like, that stores an undo history. Might as well show it, I guess. Undo. Yeah, so you have to set the undo file option to make sure it works, because maybe it does work without it, maybe it does not. I don't know. I've been having that option for a long time. So this kind of thing is pretty useful if you want to be like, okay, I want to only keep these lines in this file. So you do this, write partial file, and then blammo. And now you only have these lines. Rather than being like, so I want these lines, so now I have to first delete these and then delete those. That's not the semantic that you're going for. What you want to do is not, oh, delete all the lines before and after. No, what you want is only keep these lines. That's a different semantic, and you now have a way to like be more direct about that semantic. Let's open a new buffer, actually like this. And let's write some code. Let's do local, actually let's set it to Lua, local ASDF. What does this happen? What is this and what is this? I think I added some setting that I now realize I don't actually want. I'll need to remove it. I don't know, it has to be just some string and then we print. It doesn't really matter what we do here. Just some code that we want to execute. So we're not actually in a file. You can see here we don't have a path. All we have is a blank buffer with a file type. And that's it. Actually, file type is not needed for what we're going to do here. So let's say we want to execute it. You would usually kind of have to move it to a different file, which is a real file, and then call that file in your shell, but you don't need to do that in Vim. Just specify a range for all the lines that you want to execute, like this range, for example, or just visually select. That's probably going to be more commonly done. Like, most people will probably just select and then do this. Or maybe do this, like %sign to mean the entire file. But I'm fancy, so I do, oh, I'm on the first line, therefore let's go to from the first line, or from the current line to the final line, which here technically means exactly this, exactly %. So we do W again, so we're using write again, but now for a completely fucking different thing. To the point where I don't know if it's like it's fair to use the same command for this, even though it's like way different. So we write exclamation mark Lua to explain the semantics. Now let me actually zoom in. As far as I know, you can see that, and I hope you can. And I hope if you can't, somebody will tell me eventually. Because imagine like I'm doing 10 streams and I keep on using the zooming functionality and you cannot see. That would be hilarious. So we write the entire file into this shell command. So this is the shell command, and this is the specifier that we use to say, hey, I'm trying to run a shell command here. So effectively, we pipe the entire file, the contents of the entire file, into this shell command, which is Lua, the Lua interpreter. So when we press enter, first of all, we ran the entire code, and second of all, we got the output here in messages. I've shown something similar some streams ago, where you can use exclamation mark. Well, first of all, you can use exclamation mark to execute some command, echo hi, and you can see it executed it. You can specify a range to exclamation mark, and then specify your command. That will take these lines as input and convert them to their output. See how we took the code at that range and now it got converted into its output. So you don't necessarily actually need to open like a blank file like I did here. A good example would be like, oh, I want to calculate some sort of thing, so I'm like 1 plus 2 plus 3, and I do double exclamation mark to provide the current line to the shell command Lua. Oh, we would need to print also. We would need to, and now this will work. And now we got 6. Blammo. Hello! Glad to see you here. But also technically, it would be better if you just used expression evaluation, so control R equals. If your example really is just 1 plus 2 plus 3. I mean, at that point, you probably already know that it's 6, so it's not like the perfect example. But yeah, if you wanted to run some code to get its output and use it further in your text, you can do that. But the difference of the W thing is that it doesn't put any outputs anywhere. Well, it does, but just in messages. So you can just look at it and be like, I see. And the code doesn't change, it doesn't move. So why is this useful? This is useful if, say, you're working on your NeoVim config, which has its my folding sections got fucked up massively. Oh, let's delete them. Say you're working on some function and then you call it. Let's actually take something that returns a value. That returns a value on also doesn't use Vim APIs. There's a thing for that too, but I'm not going to get to it yet because I don't know it well enough. I don't think I have those functions. Like, basically everything relies on Vim API. So, well, basically the example is you have some function and then you have code that uses it. Just select all of that code, do W exclamation mark Lua and blammo. You would run this code using Lua and you can just look at the output and be like, okay, so it works correctly, good. So that's very useful. There is also the read command, which can also be used with like command stuff. Oh, and then we're gonna get to it. Well, I guess let's get to it first. So we were piping lines into a command. We were taking code, piping it into Lua and executing it. But you don't have to do it this way. Say you still want to paste the output, right? So now you can do R exclamation mark command, but now doing Lua doesn't really make a lot of sense because we're not piping any lines into it. Let's just do echo hi, and now it has pasted hi on a new line. My friend, what to open? Use this in my computer. I want to use. What exactly are you talking about? So here we used read, the R command, to paste it in, but if I understand correctly, and I should, if you just use W, see how we did not specify a range, we just do W command echo hi, and we see the output in messages also. But I wonder if this happens like this. Yeah, so there's kind of no need for the W, because if you just do exclamation mark and your command, you'll also get its output. But I guess the benefit with the W method is that it like doesn't bloat the output with random stuff. Like doubling the command and saying no write since change, like I don't care about that. So if you do W, has a bit neater output. On the other hand though, will you bother typing 2 extra characters for this? I don't know if I would. Maybe, but I'm not sure. So that's what W and R do, but R is actually also for a completely different thing, similar to write, doing usually saving, but in context of commands, does piping. So read is very similar in that. So what read is actually for is that you give it a file and it pastes the contents of that file below the current line. God damn, that was painfully quick. Sure, bye bye. So, yeah, if you can ever bother typing in file paths, and I cannot, then you can use this to store temporary notes, like temporary snippets basically. And then you can do snippet bit1, and that would insert the text in the file snippet1. I guess this can be made pretty painless if you like name your files very shortly, but this will be in my current working directory, so in dot files. I don't want that, because then I'll have to worry about, oh, did I like move all the files or remove all the files? Oh no, I accidentally committed them and whatever other stuff. So I'll have to use some different path, at which point it's not worth it. But interesting behavior of R, if you don't specify a file to it at all, it assumes the current file. So the behavior that we get is that it doubles. I guess it only works on files that are files. This one isn't really, because it doesn't have a file name. So let's go here. Yeah, so what it does is that it doubles the file. It takes the entire content of the current file and pastes it after the cursor on the next line. So just R doubles the current file, which is pretty nice. I could see myself potentially someday using that, like once. Also, god damn, it's hot. I hate the summer, honestly. There was like a point at which I'm like, okay, sure, I like summer now. But no, I'm back to being a summer hater. It just kinda sucks. For most of the hours of the day, it's just too hot to be thinking, and I love thinking a lot. I really, really like thinking. So, yeah. I think spring, fall, winter are all like better in that regard. They don't have like some insane thing that doesn't let you live. Well, maybe the winter does. I'm gonna come back in a sec, and this can actually let me practice my new hotkeys for the scenes that I have here. So I think it was this. Okay, so it's this. Okay. Blammo, I'm back. Hi, Soma. Funny thing, I already already started. On God. So, where was I on? Right, so when you do R, it just doubles the file. But you do have to be like on the last line for it to double the file like this, because otherwise, say you're like in the middle, you go here and you do R, this will still put the file after your cursor. So that's something to keep in mind. So you can actually record macros in places where you wouldn't expect. Usually it's like in a register, because you want to store your macro there. But if you record a macro, that's just my remap for Q, it would be Q for you, into colon, now suddenly, instead of recording a macro into there, which it can't, because it's not a writable register, instead of doing that, it opens this command mode window where you can use your normal vim motions to write a command, like, I don't know, norm asdf, and when you press enter, it will execute it. So this thing is not new, actually, because you can invoke it from normal mode, or rather from command mode, usually. You just have to press Ctrl F and you will go to this window. So I guess recording a macro, so Q into colon, is a way to go directly there. A bit strange that it's not insert mode by default and you have to go into insert mode. Is a bit annoying, but otherwise pretty neat. And you can even do so with slash, so the search register, to also go into this window. However, that's pretty useless because when you search, at least I rely on inc search to tell me what I'm going to be searching for. Once I don't have that, well, searching kind of becomes useless because I don't know what glyphal is going to match, if anything at all, and I don't want to execute this yet for many different possible reasons. And then, like, I can't press Ctrl F or my remap again to go back to get inc search, so that sucks. So recording macro into slash or question mark doesn't really make sense to do, I don't think, but it's cool that you can. Yeah, and that's so far the only two, like, unusual ones that I've learned about. You might be able to record into equals, and you cannot. Yeah, you cannot. Yeah. Let me show you an example. Set this to Lua so I can have my mapping. I use Lua Snip. It's a snippet engine for NeoVim. It lets you move between different like points in your snippet. And it's really smart about it because let's say I finished and I move somewhere to a different buffer even, and I come back, like maybe I'm here, and I try to jump, it will actually remember. Isn't that incredible? Hey Elisa, is this in regards to the macro things you're talking on recently? Yeah, exactly. It's what we were talking about with a few people in special interests in my Discord server. So about that, or more harp. No, like, new things about harp. Well, kinda is, but I'm not sure if we're gonna get to this. Yeah, no, like, big updates on harp or anything. It's kind of finished. What's common commands mean here? So common commands that everyone is used to seeing but doesn't know the hidden meanings of. So the write and read commands. Yep, Vim thing. Started catching up on recent streams. Hell yeah, thank you. Hope you enjoy them. There is a somewhat recent stream called something search harps, where I talk about the most recent new feature for harp, if you're interested in that. And I don't have the link to the main harp stream. All your harp stuff at Golds, thank you so much. Hell yeah, that's really nice to hear, because I'm like really proud of this plugin and I love it so much, because it's like, as far as I found, it is the best navigation plugin, which I know I'm like, yeah, no shit, you made it, of course you love it. It's like your child, but also genuinely though. It's much better than anything else I've used before. Something Harpoon, I was egging to get similar thing going on AHK here. Thank you. So in Lua Snip, very nicely, it actually remembers the like points, I guess you could call them, which is really nice. So you're not like, you don't need to be afraid of going into normal mode or going and doing something else, because when you come back, at least in theory, what is this thing that keeps popping up? It's very annoying. I'll need to disable that. Yeah, it remembers the points that you're at. And amazingly, let's say I enter some text and I move around. When I move, I don't just move to like this specific place, which I would expect from something shitty like VS Code. Okay, maybe I'm overreacting. VS Code is not shitty, VS Code is actually like really fucking good. But it would make this pitfall, or at least I would expect it to, you know? Because, well, I already added text, why would it like understand what I mean? Probably wouldn't, right? But Neovin does. So I move up on this and it selects all of this text, and once I start typing, it just replaces that text with what I'm typing now. This is not the behavior of visual mode. If you're in visual mode, if you start typing, you don't automatically replace all the text. No, you still have your operators and your other stuff, but for visual mode. So if you're in visual mode and you press D, you would delete that text rather than literally inserting D, right? So this is not actually visual mode. You might have noticed already, this is select mode. We are in select mode. What the fuck is select mode? So select mode is apparently some special mode made for the mouse, which is strange, and it works by different rules, and it's not really used ever. Except in Lua Snip for like selecting insert nodes that you have already put text into. It is used for that. How do we get from here to visual mode? You can actually press Ctrl G, and Ctrl G in visual or select mode switches between the two. If you're on select mode, press Ctrl G, and now you're in visual mode. If you're in visual mode, press Ctrl G, and now you're in select mode. Although, why would you actively want to go into select mode? That I don't understand. Because, yeah, sure, the feature of, oh, I'm just typing in and immediately that replaces the selection, that's pretty cool functionality. But if you're willing to go and press Ctrl G, you could have just pressed C. That's just easier. I'm in select mode at nightclubs. But this only creates errors. It's so true. That's a good one. But however, if you're in select mode and if you want to go to visual mode, knowing about Ctrl G actually becomes useful. Because now you can do something like, oh, what is this? Okay, I have to fucking remove this. But yeah, like, what is this, right? I think I have an idea what that is. So by being able to go back to visual mode, I was able to expand my selection, and now I can do C and replace it with something else, right? Yeah. So Ctrl G. Let's go and fix that bullshit. So here, opt stable. first of all, let's do this little thing. ZFAM. Created a fold. So it was something recent that broke this. Now I have to remember what that was. It was something scroll, I believe. I think it's smooth scroll. I won't be able to figure out if it is or not immediately, but maybe eventually this will like... Okay, how do we create the situation again? It might have been smooth scroll, because it's not like fucking around anymore, but maybe it wasn't. I can't really be sure. But oh well, it's working now. Have you ever wanted to count? What? So let's say you select a bunch of lines, and now you're like, how many lines is that? What you might do is look at the relative lines, something like, okay, so 7 up, which means that you have to add another one for the current one, and okay, so it's 8 lines. And this is kind of mental gymnastics to do something that you probably want to be able to do easier. Control dot plus question mark minus question mark. I don't understand what you mean by those. Or are you like asking to zoom in maybe? It's a way of incrementing numbers per line. Oh, I see what you mean. So the way to do that is Control A and Control X in normal and visual mode. That is how you increment numbers. And to increment them like increasingly, I don't know how to explain it, you would do G Control A and G Control X. Yep. But I'm not going to be talking about them because I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure I already talked about them like in the past. But that is a different thing. I'll rip the band-aid. G Control G shows you information about the current file in a pretty ugly format, I would say. Personally, I think it's really hard to like read and easily and clearly understand. But if you look into it, it is like very, very obvious. Thankfully, it's not like some magic that you have to memorize to understand. Thankfully, it's not that. I would expect it to, usually. So it shows you the number of columns on the current line and what column you're on, the like full amount of lines in the file and what line you're on. So this information you can already get probably from your status line, so it's not very useful, right? But now you get to information that you did not have access to before, unless you have a really good status line. And I'm willing to bet that like an overwhelming majority of people does not have this in their status line. So I use Astro NeoVim. It is what I am pretty sure like the best NeoVim distro. I'm not gonna like start wars though. So basically, I think that if Astro doesn't have this in their status line, then I don't think like it's a common thing to add, right? So the information that you get is the amount of words before the cursor, and let me actually zoom in like this. Before the cursor and the total amount of words in the entire file. So it's as if you're using fucking Microsoft Word. Oh my god. Then we have the amount of characters before the cursor and the total amount of characters. And then if the bytes differ in number from the number of characters, then they are shown as well. If the amount of bytes and characters is exactly the same, as you can see they are not, then bytes are omitted, just chars are shown, as far as I remember. That's pretty fucking cool. The more useful part of this is that if you select something and do G-Control-G, now you get specific information for a selection. It shows you how many lines you have selected. It shows you how many words you have selected, how many characters you have selected, and how many bytes also, which is very useful. Say you add a new line and you're like, okay, let's input like 100 IA escape, and you want to make sure that you inserted specifically 100 A's. So you select them, do G-Control-G, and now you can see, yes, indeed, I actually did insert 100 A's. So everything is correct. I can continue on doing whatever I want to do with a full 100 A's, whatever it might be. So this is really, really nice. You have trouble making eye contact with somebody. Kind of the opposite. I'm not sure when, but I was taught that eye contact is super important from a young age. So what I do instead is that I stare at people's eyes like very, very strongly. And then I have to sometimes like bring myself back, like, oh, hold up, that's not normal. And then it's in my head also as I think learned behavior that basically if you don't make contact, if you don't make eye contact, that means that you're not listening and you're not like engaging with the person, which I realize consciously is not how it works, but that's how it is now in my head. And that's why I fucking stare at people. Oh, you make me realize now I can finally insert the nickname of one of my members on my Discord server. I can do, how many was it? I think 3 I yo and then 2A no blammo. It's almost easier this way actually than just typing it in. Blammo. Before I burn out and forget, I've been meaning you, or rather I've been meaning to send you a track, this one. It fucking slaps and I want to share with you. You heard that? No, that's just a different virtual desktop, or how it's called in awesome window manager, tags. I am on a tag, not a desktop, which is very confusing, but if you know how awesome WM works, it makes more sense there. Because tags are not exclusive. You can share windows from multiple different tags. So, yeah. Oh, no? Nope. No, actually, HARP does not implement like the idea of text registers. Not really. The closest you have to that is search registers or other search harps, but that they're not really designed for just holding text. Technically, you can abuse them into doing so, but they're not designed for that. Okay, what next to talk about? I just did folding, and I created a manual folding section using ZF. ZF is an operator, and you can do ZF to J, for example, and I just created a new folding section. First of all, if you're on your own NeoVim config, your folding sections probably don't look like this. They probably look like older, I guess. But there is a way to make them look like this, to make them look literally with the same syntax highlighting and colors as normal lines. But then it also has some background color, for example, like I do here, that they're a bit highlighted to tell you, oh, I am a closed fold, while still retaining the syntax highlighting. So how do you do that? You set a certain option, fold text, you set it to nothing. So let me show you. So you do vim opt fold text is an empty string, and if you set this option, you will get nice looking folds like these. But about folds more broadly, there is a plugin called NeoVim UFO. I actually don't recommend it. I don't think it's worth it. It at least for me, it adds like 7 or 8 milliseconds of startup time, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it kind of adds up. And what it does is that it implements multiple different automatic ways of creating folding sections. It can automatically add folding sections by indent, for example. So you can see that these lines are indented against this. So it would create a folding section here automatically. Then, if your LSP provides some folding sections, it will also use those. And then as a fallback, it can use tree sitter, if I remember correctly. So it provides you different options to automatically make folding sections. So that has a few issues, because let's say you use Z capital M to fold, to close all the folds that you have. I just did that, and I did close all of my folding sections. To make sure I'm not lying, here I just opened the folding section, and now I do Z capital M, and I closed them. Those are the only folding sections that I'm interested in. Those are the only ones that I want to fold to begin with, and I just did that. If I use NeoVim UFO, everything right now would get folded. Like this entire opts table would get folded. So not just some things that I want to fold, no, everything that can be folded will be folded, even if I don't care about it being folded. So by adding a bunch of automatic folding sections, I now have to tread more carefully and walk and overfold basically. If I create my own folding sections, let's create another one, this one for example, and let's also make one for the opts table. ZFAM. Boom. So everything is folded. Now, with my own created folding sections, all the things above do not get folded because maybe I don't want to. But what I want to fold does get folded because those are folding sections that I created. So it's way easier, in my opinion, to work with this because you get to decide which things you always want to be open, so you don't make a folding section there, and which things you do want to fold, and you can create like subfolds like you usually would. So the actual use case for this is having okay, let me explain this from a different perspective. So with UFO, this would be a folding section, this would be a folding section, and this, and this, and this. All of them would be separate. So if I closed every single folding section, all of these five would get closed separately. When in reality, I don't care about all of them together. And by the way, you can just do FO instead of ZF. And this will also create a folding section. Not sure why you need to know that. For all intents and purposes, you kind of don't. You can just use ZF here as well in visual mode. So here I was able to create a manual folding section for all of these things. For what it's worth, you can still create this manual folding section in NeoVim UFO. You don't lose that ability. But then what happens is that this folding section would have like multiple folding sections inside of it, which once again would possibly make it like more annoying to have to deal with. But I don't get all of these like random folding sections that I did not ask for. No, only those that I specifically want. Like this, for example, I never want to fold. Never. And it will never get folded because I didn't create the folding section. So yeah, I'm not sure how to like super well explain this, but my main point is that if folding sections aren't provided for you, you pay more attention into where you create your own folding sections and make them more useful and make them easier to work with rather than work around. And you also save yourself a couple of milliseconds of startup time, possibly. If your computer is worse than mine or on the same level, it might be faster than mine, in which case it maybe like really doesn't matter. But for me it does. Like if I lazy profile, oh, Jesus Christ, it took 178 milliseconds for my NeoVim to start up, which is pretty crazy. Why is HTML taking 124 milliseconds? That's insane. That's crazy. Damn. So yeah, I want to at least save a 7 milliseconds, you know? So something that I believe you could still do with UFO, but it would still be annoying. I can fold this, because it basically is just boilerplate, when in reality what I care about, actually let's delete this and recreate it as this. This is just basically boilerplate that I don't care about, and now I actually get the meat and potatoes of everything, and then ZF until the end. Isn't this pretty fucking nice? So just removed a bunch of lines that I don't care about and kept all the other ones that I do. I can still unfold them, by the way, if I want to, and see everything. So it's like, it's so nice. Fun fact, chainsaws were invented to cut through the pelvises of delivering mothers who are having trouble pushing their babies out. I don't believe you. Is that an autism test? Because you did mention this. And it's actually usually very easy to fool me. So this has the potential to make me believe it. Like, this could potentially be like, huh, didn't know that. Wow, I'll travel with this fact until the end of my life. This like might have happened, but I don't think I believe you. I mean, if you try hard enough, you could gaslight me into believing it. And nope, I would never actually check. I don't know why, but I really enjoy being clueless and uneducated on things that are like unimportant to me professionally, if that makes sense. If you said something like, did you know that the Unix sort command has a dash capital C flag that like, I don't know, includes the Amogus symbol into one of the lines randomly, I would probably check that, because that's like interesting, and that is a part of my like programmer identity. That kind of thing is important for me, so I would be interested in knowing more about it. But then if it's just a random life fact, I don't care about life, I don't go outside. So here I'm far more likely to just trust whatever you say, because it doesn't matter to me professionally. Does that make sense? In 1780, two Scottish doctors invented the prototype of the chainsaw, not to cut down trees or clear debris. Invented the hand-cracked chainsaw. Huh. Hold up, but wouldn't that be immensely painful? Like super ouch? No? That sounds super ouchy ouchy. Right, so arriving to my main point, usually I would have created all of these folding sections that are really nice and those that I really like. I exit my session, I'm like, okay, let's go back, and they would all be gone. That is the default behavior. And you'll be like, well, for fuck's sake, why did I bother creating all of those? I didn't need them for my session. I could go without them. Like, and now I'm obviously not gonna remake them because that's like way too annoying, right? That would be the default behavior, and that is the big reason for why you would want UFO, for it to give you fairly reasonable default folding sections that you could do something with without needing to constantly remake manual folding sections, because that's like ridiculous and not worth it. But with certain auto commands, these two auto commands that I have created, these make sure that all of my folding sections that I create actually stay between sessions. And also conveniently, they also make sure that my cursor position is remembered. You can see that I re-entered and my cursor is where it was when I closed. So it's thanks to this that my manual folding sections actually stay. I believe someone helped me with this, and I need to... Oh yeah, for the fold text solution thanks to this person for showing me this. It was in some GitHub issue that I would never have come across, and I was trying to make up my own way to make fold text good. Thankfully, this person helped me in realizing that I can just set it to an empty string and it will be pretty by itself. Because UFO, UVM UFO, actually makes fold text pretty like that, and I thought that was like specific to the plugin, but no, actually that's just a feature of NeoVim. Smell is particle based, and you probably have walked into a smelly restroom. Sure, I am now forgetting what this is referencing. So yeah, with these two auto commands, you can also add them to your config. And now folding sections don't just become useful. Well, first of all, yeah, they become useful, first of all. But second of all, they become, I would say, better. Because let's say whoops. No worries, my folding sections are still like, okay. So here I have some mappings for normal and visual mode. To make them also play sounds, because I have a plugin, which is this plugin, which is very funny, that lets you play sound effects on different events. So I have a bunch of mappings that also play sounds. What I can do now is just make a folding section here to basically hide all of them, because they're like kind of huge, right? They're pretty huge, they take up a lot of space, and I don't usually want to look at them. They're kind of done, they're probably not going to be changed that often, so I might as well fold it to get a look at all the other different stuff here. Similar thing here as well, so boom, folded. What else can we fold? We can fold this, because it's like, it's the same thing 10 times in a row. I don't need to see it. So the idea continues on. Here also, same idea. You just can go through your file, manually fold some stuff that takes up too much space, and that is stored, that is remembered. So when you come into the file the next time, it's going to be way more clean. It's not gonna be as annoying. Yeah, let's do ZF inside paragraph, blammo, done. And by the way, one thing to not worry about because it's not a problem, let's say you search for numbered. When you search, it will open the fold if it needs to. Then though, it doesn't automatically close it, because I specifically don't want it to. But there's actually an option called fold close. If you set fold close option to all, then what it will do is close folding sections automatically once you leave them. So I leave opt stable. If I had fold close, actually let me just interactively show you. Set fold close is all. Oh, you don't need these thingies, just all. And once I leave opt, it closes it. I leave opt stable, it also closes it automatically. I don't think I want that. I would rather decide myself when I maybe change the fold level and do something like Z capital M. So I don't think I want that personally, but you do have that option. So fold close. Oh yeah, set fold close to nothing. Now it won't do that anymore. That's honestly actually a good thing to add a toggle for. Maybe you want that to happen sometimes and to toggle it, so I'll probably add a mapping for that. Toggle fold close. About funny plugins, so Reverb Neovim, let me quickly show you my config and send you a link to it. Oops, here you go. And same thing, but parse branch head. Same link, but will not be broken in the future. And this one might be, like the first one. The sound effects, all of them that I got, or most of them, I just randomly found on the internet. But most of them were from the place listed in the plugin README. You'll find it. But yeah, the main thing about reverb.neovim, it's actually like very enjoyable. It is strangely enjoyable. So I have sound effects on when my cursor moves, when I go into insert mode, and some other stuff when I save, and then when I change directory, and also when I search, when I go into command mode, something else probably also. Oh, when I complete a suggestion, so say I do, it would play a sound right now if I had it on. And it's actually super fucking nice. It's basically like my editor is stimming for me, which is very convenient, and I did not expect ever to install a plugin to stim for me. That's like hilarious. Yeah. One thing that I have to warn you about, a lot of events happen in the places that you didn't expect them to happen in. For example, there's this event called text yank post. Let's look it up, text yank post. Just after a yank command. I see. So you might think, oh, great, that's like the perfect event to make a sound effect for. But then what happens is, say you maybe also have a sound effect for moving your cursor, and you try to yank this word. You yank inside word, and two sound effects happen. One for the yank and one for the move. And then it sounds kinda you know? Which is why a lot of events which might feel obvious to make sound effects for, they actually conflict in a bunch of places, or work strangely otherwise, and you're like, well, this sucks. This event, for example, that happens every time you insert a character in insert mode. Well, if you complete a suggestion, it will play that sound effect for every character that you just inserted. And that's kind of goofy. I liked it at first, but then realized that it actually slowed things down. So I removed that. So for some events, it might be more difficult to implement the behavior, and you might need to like make mappings explicitly to play sound effects, for example, which can be annoying and often not worth it. But at least for some events, you straight up just can make sound effects for, and are going to be really nice. Continuing on with funny plugins. There is a plugin called metalpipe.newvim, which is a sound effect plugin. Yes, singular, which I find to be hilarious. Like, it's really funny. I don't even remember when it does that. Oh, it just lets you do that, and I guess then you can decide when it plays. And what I find the most funny about this plugin is that it's well designed. Sure, the default functionality and the main design is for you to play the metal pipe sound effect, which is hilarious. Even more hilarious is that it's mostly in Lua, but for some odd fucking reason needs Vim script. Crazy. But then also you have like a convenient API to just play the sound effect. I haven't looked into the code, but it's possible that it's maybe even cross-platform. So you might install this plugin to have a convenient interface to play a sound effect, any sound effect. You might even replace reverb.newvim with this plugin for that reason. But I'm just guessing though. I don't actually know if it's cross-platform playing sound effects or not. Probably not. I would imagine not. Reverb.newvim, for example, is Linux only. But it's not doing anything complex. There's a good chance that you're going to be able to just implement the functionality of Reverb.newvim by yourself. It's just kind of neater in terms of configuration, like less syntax for stuff. An even funnier plugin by my friend sus.newvim. It adds a sus emoji, the one that I sent just recently, to your status column. Is it that? I don't remember. Which I do have disabled for what it's worth, so it would do nothing in my config. On lines that have the word sus on them, which is hilarious. So if you add this to your config, on this line to the left you would see the sus icon, which is a hilarious idea. And also, hilariously again, this plugin is designed to actually let you do whatever you want. You can actually make it useful. Well, I guess it does text specifically here. Would be really convenient if this was pattern instead. And then you could probably make it do pattern pretty easily by like forking it and probably submitting a PR. I think that's a good feature. The author would probably be into that too. So yeah, maybe you supply a pattern and then you can quickly see which lines contain that pattern. And then you could combine multiple patterns using this. And then you can decide your own icon. And then it would be really cool if this plugin supported multiple texts and multiple icons, but then that might be just out of scope. This is just a meme plugin, so yeah. Let me send you this plugin also. Okay. Tired now. Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Go join my Discord server. The link is in the description. But just in case it's easier, I'll also send the link here. Blammo, here you go. And goodbye. I fucking